A very good morning, students. This is your English teacher Veenu Sehrawat and I welcome you all to Arkiti online classes. Well, we'll continue with our lesson all summer in a day, that is lesson number 9 in English Vibes book. So, I request you all to open your books at page number 112 and we know that in the last video we got to know that the sun, it has finally come out, right? So let's see what happens next in the lesson. It was the color of flaming bronze and it was very large, and the sky around it was a blazing blue tile. Now when it actually came out, it looked as if the bronze, the alloy, as if somebody is burning that bronze. Okay, so flaming means burning. Flaming, burning. So it was a beautiful color. It was looking really wonderful, and the sky, when it came out and it spread its light all around, so it gave a beautiful blue shade, right? And it looked as if it was blazing. Blazing means very hot. Okay, blazing means very hot. The sky, it looked like a very hot blue colored tile. Tile you must have seen. These are rectangular or in square shape, which are used on walls and floors, right? So, and the jungle burned with sunlight as the children, released from their spell, rushed out yelling into the springtime. Now, when all the children, they came out running happily, it looked as if the jungle, it was burning, okay? And they were released. Released means freed, right? Like you were closed, right? In some room. All the children, they were for a very long time, they all were just closed in that room, in that building, right? And it was the time when they were actually freed from there. They got released from there, okay? So released means freed. Freed from their spell. Now what is spell? Spell is a powerful influence of something or somebody. So actually this has been used for that underground building, right? It of course it was very the influence was very powerful on the children, right? Because they were confined in that building for a very long time, right? And after 7 long years, they were finally out in the nature, and they got to see the sun, right? So they just rushed out from there. Rush out is a phrasal verb which means to go out quickly, all right? So rushed out means went out quickly. And they were yelling. Yelling means they were shouting. Of course, they had all the reasons to shout because they were so happy to see the sun. This was the moment. So yelling. Yelling means shouting. Shouting. All right. Into the springtime. Springtime, of course, the spring season. The sun was out, right? And all the trees and plants and flowers, they were alive. They looked alive in front of their eyes, right? Now, don't go too far. Call the teacher after them. Of course, we are always, there to advise you. Do this, don't do that. It is harmful for you. It is beneficial for you. So the same way, the teacher, she's again, reminding all the students that, please don't go too far. Of course, because it was, the sun was out for a very short duration, and then again they had to go back, right? You have only 2 hours, So she just reminded them about this thing. But they were running and turning their faces up to the sky and feeling the sun on their cheeks like a warm iron, right? Iron. What is iron? With the help of which we iron our clothes, right? When they are crushed and when we iron it, they all the wrinkles, they are removed. Alright, so the sun, it felt the sunlight, the sunshine, its warmth, right? When it fell on their cheeks, it felt like somebody has put a hot iron on their cheeks, and it was a wonderful feeling for all the children. They were taking off their jackets and letting the sun burn their arms, alright? So they were actually, they were enjoying every bit of these 2 hours, right? They wanted to enjoy every bit of these 2 hours. So they just took off their jackets. Took off means removed, okay? So they removed their jackets so that they could absorb all the sunlight on their arms, on their whole body, right? Oh, it's better than the lamps, isn't it? All right. So all the children, they are very happy, and one of them said, "It's so beautiful, and it's better than the lamps that are used, that they used to see in that building, right?" And all the other children, they said, yes, much better, right? They stopped running and stood in the great jungle that covered Venus, that grew and never stopped growing. Yes, so the planet Venus, it was covered with, yes, there was a great jungle. We get to know here by this line that the planet was covered with jungle, and there was a great jungle, okay? And it never grew, it never stopped to grow, right? We got to know about this thing in beginning of the chapter, right? That there were great forests there, and they were ruined by the continuous rain, and then they grew up, then they were again crushed, right? So it kept going on there on the planet Venus, right? Then it was a nest of octopi. Now beta, this is a plural form of octopus, okay? It is plural form of octopus. Clustering up great arms of flesh like feet, wavering means to move in this form, to and fro, sorry, flowering in this brief spring. So it was a nest of octopi. Now actually they are not talking about the real octopus here, but they are talking about weeds. Weeds, we have already talked about this word. Weed is an unwanted wild plant, okay, which grows itself anywhere, right? So there were all over the Venus there were weeds, and its arms, right, it was spread in all directions, and it looked like an octopus, like the octopus with its arms, right? And it used to wave like this, okay? Wavering means, wavering moving in to and fro motion, okay? Moving in to and fro motion. Okay, so, and they were flowering. Flowering means blooming, growing, okay? Growing in this brief spring. Now, of course, this was a spring, but it was very brief. Brief means of short duration, okay? Of short period of time, right? So, brief of short duration of time. So, of course, it was short because it was only for 2 hours, right? So, yes, the children, they sat laughing on the jungle mattress and heard it squeak under them, resilient and alive. Now, first, earlier they were just running and running, right? But now they just rested and they just sat on the jungle mattress, right? See how beautifully the writer has, written it. The reader can actually imagine it, and he can go. I feel as if, I am sitting there with those children on the jungle mattress, right? So, they just sat there, right, and heard it squeak under them. Squeak is basically, it is a cry, right? Squeak, suppose when the children, they sat on the grass, right, on the plants, so they are saying we could hear it squeak, right, when they sat. So basically sound of the plants getting crushed, right? Resilient and alive. Now, resilient means something which is, very quick to get back to life. Okay? Very quick to get back to life. Now, why has the writer used this word? Now, the writer has told us earlier also, like the rain, it ruined the plants, but then they never stopped growing. So the same way, that is why he has written this word, resilient, something which is very quick to get back to life. Like they were crushed, but they were again back to life. They are always ready to grow, right? Resilient and alive. Alive is somebody who is breathing, who is alive, who is living, right? So let me write the word resilient here. Quick to get back to life. Okay, now, yes, so we come at page number 113 now. They ran among the trees, they slipped, they fell, they pushed each other, they played hide and seek and tag, but most of all, they squinted at the sun until tears ran down their faces. They put their hands up to the yellowness and that amazing blueness and they breathed of the fresh air and listened to the silence. Now, of course, so here we get to know that how happy the children were, right? They were running here and there and they were laughing. They played games, hide and seek, tag, But one thing which was done by most of them very frequently was that they squinted at the sun. Squinted means when you keep looking at sun. Okay, what happens when we face the sun? What happens? Our eyes, they get they shrink a little, right? Like this, because it's too bright. It is too bright, right, to see it with normal opened eyes, right? So they get squinted, right? So they were just looking at the sun with squinted eyes, right? And they were covering that sunshine with their palms like this, and they were just enjoying it, right? So this word squinted, it means to close eyes slightly, okay? Because sunlight is too bright, right? Squinted, to close eyes slightly. And they enjoyed with the sunlight, they played with sunlight, right? And they breathed the fresh air, right? And they enjoyed the silence also, which was there in the nature, in the jungle, right? So it was a very beautiful, unforgettable moment for the children. Yes, they looked at everything and savored everything. Now, they did not want to miss even a single thing for those 2 hours, right? And then they wanted to savor everything. Savor means to enjoy and experience to the fullest, okay? Savor. To enjoy and experience to the fullest. Okay, then wildly, like animals, escaped from their caves, and they ran and ran in shouting circles. Okay, they ran for an hour and did not stop running. It looks very beautiful, right? When I read these things, are you able to imagine those kids? I mean, you should engross in this lesson. Right now, when you listen to this story, when you listen to this line, you should actually be running with those children in circles, right? This is how you should enjoy the lesson, right? So these children, they were running in circles and they were shouting, right? And they just did not stop, and they were just like wild animals who have just escaped from a cage, right? And then in the midst of their running, one of the girls wailed. Wailed means cried. She shouted, right? What do you think has happened? Let's find out. So, beta, if you see here, and in the midst means while they were running, in the middle of that, while they were running, there was a girl who cried, who shouted at that time. Everyone stopped. The girl, standing in the open, held out her hand. Held out means stretched. Held out means stretched. Okay, so this is a phrasal verb. Held out means stretched. So when all the other children, they came near her, she just stretched out, right? As if she was trying to show something, right? And then, oh, look, she said, trembling. Trembling means shaking. Trembling means shaking. trembling, shaking. So while speaking, she was trembling, she was shaking, and she was just saying, look at this thing. They came slowly to look at her opened palm. What is palm? This portion is called palm, right? So all the children, they came nearer. In the center of it, there was a single raindrop. Have you understood what has happened now? Yes, it was time for them to go back at the same place. And it was the time when the spring season was got to be over, right? There was a raindrop, a single raindrop. So it was a clear indication that the enjoyable time, that is over now. Now she began to cry looking at it. Can you feel her pain at that time? She was just looking at the raindrop and she was just crying. That now again everything would be dark and there would be just rain, rain and rain for long 7 years. They glanced quietly at the sky. Glanced means stared, to look at something continuously, right? So they just, when they saw that single raindrop, they just looked at the sky in anxiety. Is it going to rain now? Right? With that question in their mind, they just looked at the sky. A few cold drops fell on their noses and their cheeks and their mouths. So they anticipated it correctly. The rain, it had already started. Now a wind blew cool around them. So wind, earlier it was very warm, now it got cool, right? They turned and started to walk back towards the underground house. So all the children, now they knew that it's time to go back, right? And their hands at the sides, their smiles vanishing away. Okay, so vanishing means disappearing. Okay, vanishing, disappearing. So the moment they realized that the same weather, the same darkness is about to come in their lives again for next 7 years, all their happiness, all their excitement, it all vanished. It all disappeared at that time. Now, a boom of thunder startled them, and like leaves before a new hurricane, they tumbled upon each other and ran. Now boom, boom means loud sound. Boom means loud sound of thunder. Okay, when it starts raining or when it's raining, and sometimes before the rain start, it thunders, right? There is loud sound, right? And startled. Startled means shocked. Okay, startled, shocked. And boom, boom means loud sound, right? So, and the moment it happened, all the children, they looked as if when a violent windstorm comes, what happens? All the leaves of the tree, they just fall down, right? The same way, all the children, they just tumbled upon each other. Tumbled upon each other means they fell upon each other, right? And then and they just ran at that time. So lightning struck 10 miles away, 5 miles away, a mile, and a half mile. Now what do we get to know about from this sentence? Now when lightning strikes, right? So when it's going to rain, right? What happens? When it just starts raining, it's really far, and then it appears, seems as if it is coming closer, right? And when it comes closer, the intensity of rain increases, right? Now the sky darkened into midnight in a flash, right? So the moment it started raining, the bright sky, okay, it turned into midnight. That means everything got dark, okay, dark into a flash. Flash means here suddenly, or we can say here in very quickly. So in a few moments, everything changed. Alright? They stood in the doorway of the underground for a moment until it was raining hard. Right? So the children, they have already come inside that building, and they just stand there and they just watch the rain for some time. Then they closed the door and heard the gigantic sound of the rain, okay? And then excuse me, gigantic means beta huge, something huge, but here gigantic sound means loud, very loud sound, okay, of the rain falling in tons and avalanches. Now beta, tons and avalanches means when it rains, right? So a large amount of snow, ice, right, and stones, they also fall along with rain, okay? Tons and avalanches, right? Everywhere and forever, right? Forever. Why? Because of course now it will continue to rain for next 7 years. Now will it be 7 more years? A child, one of the children, he said, will it be 7 more years? Yes, 7, right? So the other child, he replied, yes, 7 years. And all the children, they were just, they were devastated, they were shattered, they were disappointed that why now again, they will wait for next 7 years now, right? So this was the moment when, their happiness, it was all shattered. So this was the moment, right, when the sun and their the time that they enjoyed right there, it was all a memory for them now, right? So we'll continue with the lesson in our next video. I hope you have understood the lesson till here, and of course enjoyed also with all the other children on planet Venus. Thank you so much, beta.